we're not very like ego driven, so to speak. It's not like you're buying a Vilano, you're buying my boat and you're buying it the way I want to build it. We have a lot more fun trying to make the owner's dream come true, so to speak. So the second one is cold molded.
You got a little picture on your phone you could show up to the camera of the Vilano?
Oh God, of course you're gonna ask me that. I do have one. Just how far back is it?
And how did it start out? Like, what was the origin story?
Too much alcohol.
Really? Okay.
Says if God wanted us to have fiberglass boats, he would have given us fiberglass trees.
It's for fishermen. It's not for taking the wife and the wife's friends.
I think that it's a really, really pretty boat.
And then there was a blur that went by and ended up in the cockpit, as far as if I can remember correctly.
Welcome back, State of Sport Fishing Podcast. I'm Nick Carullo. I'm joined with me, my co-host, Anthony Pino, with Hooked Optics and captain of the Blood Money. He's joining us from Casa de Campo, DR right now. And tonight, our guest is Phill Mahn, owner of Vilano Boatworks and FrontrRunner Boatworks. Thanks for joining us, Phil. Glad to have you on.
Thanks for having me, guys. I'm glad to be here.
Awesome, man. Phil, tell us about you. Tell us how you kind of got into this thing.
I mean, I was just a blue collar worker that really liked fishing a lot. I had met my business partner, Mark. It's kind of like an ironic story. We were both in the car industry together, and I started a business, and he actually became like my first customer. And then through that friendship, he really got me into fishing. I mean, my father-in-law got me into like fishing, but Mark got me into like actually trying to go offshore fishing. And that friendship kind of spawned in 2011 into a boat partnership. And we kind of got good at buying these bank-owned boats and, fixing them up and fishing them and selling them and turning a buck or two. It was funny because the first boat we ever repowered, we repowered in the front yard of Mark's house. And when we called Mercury to figure out how to program the engines, they said, well, just get the dealer to program them. And we said, well, there's no dealer would put them on. And the lady on the phone, she said, where'd you guys do this at? And I said, in our front yard. She said, don't tell anybody that. And so we did that for a while. We owned a couple other businesses together, and we decided to start a boat dealership. And it was kind of ironic because it was like right when the previous election happened, the Trump administration came in, and I was just trying to find something that I had a good business. It was good to me and my family, but I really wanted to do something I loved. And I thought, I love fishing. I love boats. Let me try to get into this industry a little bit. So we started off as dealers right when all that happened, and we were selling actually Nortex and fountains, and it was fun for a little bit, but it was a struggle because it wasn't really the product we were passionate about, and it was really hard to compete with what was out there given what we were selling. And so I got the wild hair up my ass, and I was actually watching if y'all remember when the Freeman story came out, and everyone kind of got to the understanding of the Freeman story. And I texted Mark and I said, why aren't we building boats ourselves? We rig these things. We do everything but the lamination side. And he said, yeah, that's not a bad idea. I said, we certainly have more resources right now than some of these other guys have started with, And 2 days later, we were in a car driving to Stewart. We interviewed 3 naval architects. Ended up settling on Irwin Gerard's. We started with a 39 because the gimmick was like, well, if nobody likes it, at least it'll be something we like, and we can at least keep the boat. And so the goal was to try and build a boat the first year ourselves and get it to Lauderdale and hope we could sell a couple at it. And the year 2 was hoping that we could build 4, and then year 3 was just trying to do 4 again. And we got the molds February of 19 for the 39, and we gel coated our first boat in February of 19. And by the end of that year, we had sold like 25 boats and built 4 the first year. Wow. And then the second year we built 12, and then we're into our 3rd year now. And we've got over 200 units sold on the FrontrRunner side. And we've got 6 models now. We've got the 26, the 33, the 36, the 39, the 47. And we finally got the 37 cat into tooling. It's been a long wait. All the tooling companies are struggling a little bit right now, but they're doing what they can. So that's getting in there, and it's been a roller coaster, but it's been fun. No regrets. After my 2nd year, I sold my other business, and I mean, I've been head over heels into this business, and I like it a lot.
What kind of business was your original business? The car business?
Well, Mark and I were in the car business together, but like I was like a mechanic and he was a general sales manager. But the business that I owned was actually a landscape company. And gotcha. I started it like just being a guy that mows lawns, but then it turned into, a $16 million a year company with 200 employees. And it really grew into something that was certainly more substantial than I thought it was going to be. But it afforded me a lot of opportunity. I don't know, some people know this, but some don't. But FrontrRunner and Vilano are both funded off of mine and Mark's wallets. There's no banks, there's no investors. It's just us two. And it's that business definitely afforded me the opportunity to do it. I mean, I've kind of still rolling the dice and still got it all on the line. I tell my kids all the time, like, we might have to dip into the college fund, so get those grades up. But it was a good business for me. It brought me a lot of blessings, that's for sure.
Nice. I was gonna ask, like, so you just decided, you guys were kind of flipping boats, and then, what was the process to jumping into the boat building, the boat building business? I mean, that's a big jump and a big risk, man.
Yeah. So you have to be crazy. That's part of it.
Oh, that's for sure.
You got to it has to make absolutely no sense, and you got to think it's a good idea still. But I think when we first started it, man, it was just like, we were both fortunate enough. We had financially been set from previous businesses, and it wasn't really like we want to go make money. It was like, I just want to do something I love. I love playing with the boats, and we love fishing, and we loved our clientele base that we had developed in the dealership. And so it was as dumb as it sounds, it was just like two rednecks that wanted to go build boats. And we never really, I think I've said this to you many times, Nick, we give a lot of credit to our faith because we never dreamt it this big, right? It just kind of started rolling that way. But we were just two guys that wanted to build boats. And, ironically, some of the people locally that you would think were just going to be like, hell yeah, this is awesome, they weren't really your supporters. But out of the woods came people that you had no idea existed, and they would walk in that shop and they would see that mold and they would just be like, man, I'm in, I want to be part of this. And they would buy a boat, and it's funny, the guy that bought the first FrontrRunner from us also was building the first Vilano with us. But I mean, he was in the shop all of 10 minutes and he had ordered a boat, so it kind of just started off as like, let's just see how it goes. It really wasn't like, we're going to go run and compete against, all the big guys, and we're going to set a market or anything like that. I mean, we thought what we had was good ideas and good product and a good naval architect. But it really, when the 39 hit the water at Lauderdale, and people actually saw how nice of a boat we built for our very first boat. I always tell people when they look at 3901, when you were here, Nick, at my house, I was like, that's not the first 39. That's the first boat I ever built. And I would really, now I'm proud of it now that I look back and see, and I would put it up against a lot of people's first boats, but when that started happening, organically, it just grew. Like, people that were really good at building boats started walking in our door, and wanting employment. And we were able to acquire a shit ton of talent. I mean, guys that there's one guy named Mike Hayes that runs our shop. And I always tell everybody, if you give that guy like 2 rolls of duct tape and a screwdriver, he'll build you the space shuttle. I mean, he's really, really talented. And it just kind of kept going. With the guy that tooled for Vectorworks, he was running Vectorworks. He tooled our first hull, which was our 39s. And now he's basically our general manager. And a lot of those guys have a lot of boat building experience. So from the lamination side and the infusion side, we learned a ton from those guys in a really short amount of time. And on the rigging side, we taught them a lot, because that's what we basically did prior to that. Was we were a dealership and a service company, and we did a lot of service work on boats. So we knew what worked and what didn't work, and we knew what was hard to work on and why it was hard to work on. So their brains and our brains, I think we ended up, just hitting a home run. And I don't know why it just happened, but it was like one day we were talking about a 36, and it was, and one of our, it was one of our previous dealership customers, but not a FrontrRunner customer at the time, was like, well, if you build a 36, I'll buy one of those. The 39 is just too big. And 4 days later, Erwin's doing renderings, and we're talking about what we want the 36 to look like. And, I want to say 6 weeks later, it was a real product, and we were going to develop it. And we were in 2.5 months, we were in tooling, and the 39 and the 36 were on, hit the ground running, and we were starting to look like a boat company. And then the 26 started off as a small project for me and my son to do. We had sold our Seacraft, and we were looking to do like a coal molded, jig built little father-son project. And I made a mistake of leaving the plans out on my desk and for a couple of weeks, and people started seeing it, and everyone started asking about it. And it was a prank between me and Mark, because Mark was like, we should tool that and make it a product. And I'm like, dude, this is like the only thing I got with me and my son. Let me just have this. And he's like, I bet you I could sell 5 of those in a day. And I was like, oh, that's no way. I said, you sell 5 in a day, I'll tool it. And the next day I had 5 contracts on my desk, 5 checks on my desk, and I was eating my words. So that's how the 26 came. And then the 33 was just like inevitable. We need something now in between. We can't have a 26 and a 36. So that's how that all kind of came.
That's awesome. So how many 26 have you sold now?
I think there's 30 something sold now. There's 14 on the water now. It's a cool little boat. It's I always try and tell everybody, like, hey, it's a coastal fishing boat. It's a boat for you to go have fun in Stinhatcher in the Keys, or go catch a red snapper in the summer days. And everybody that ordered one with a Seakeeper and a second station and twin 300Rs, and they're going to the ledge which is 70 miles here in Jacksonville. And I'm just like putting my hands on my face, like, good grief, guys. Like, we build bigger boats. Why don't we use those to go offshore fishing with? But they've all, they call it the Swiss Army knife, the FrontrRunner line. They use it for a lot of stuff. That's for sure.
That's cool. That's a nice little rig. I mean, you put twin 300s on it. So of course they want to do all that in it.
Yeah. It's a legit 52-mile-an-hour cruise. Like, I was driving mine Saturday. I was running it. We were just doing some prop testing again. And like, I was laughing because I'm like, we're in a 26-foot boat with 5 people. We're cruising at 54 miles an hour. Like, it's nothing. And so when you do that, it's especially like when you're getting around the Keys, and you want to move, somewhere else. It's really cool, especially when you're on the backside of the Gulf. But some of these guys, they want to go 55 when they're offshore too. And it's just, I giggle. It's funny.
Oh man.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing, man.
Yeah. I mean, good sales team too. Just I organically just kind of, things started falling into place. And the only thing I wish I could, I mean, we're learning how to battle COVID, and shortages in the industry, but we've been fortunate, man. Like, one thing I'll say that I think is kind of an anomaly in the business is there's a lot of really good boat builders out there that aren't necessarily the best businessmen. And fortunately, with my background and most of the businesses that I've owned, I've been fortunate. My sisters have all worked for me, my relatives. So like, wherever I go, they kind of go. So like, when they're in a new business with me, they already know how to do, setting up an inventory system and setting up backlog and how to deal with, shortages and supply chain issues. So we never really had that growing pain. You know what I mean? We were able to just kind of put some of the business practices we had learned in the other companies we owned into play. And we've been, there's always a joke when people walk in our shop. You've seen it, Nick. We're one of the few guys with Mercury engines on the ground, but we know how to forecast and we know how to order and we know how to stay in front of it, as much as we can. So we've been lucky in that aspect too.
Yeah. No, your shop is very impressive.
Thank you.
The engine situation is very impressive. Like I said, everyone down here will do anything for Mercury, and you guys have 50 of them.
Yeah. I mean, there's a transom in that building for every single one of them, but we're delivering boats. The boat's done, it's getting its motors hung, and it's going out the door to the customer. We're not, fortunately, and we've been creative, when Mercury calls and they're telling you that the 400s are pushed back, but you've got 300R allocations. You call the customer and you just tell them, you want a boat or you want to not boat, and they make a decision. But I think that, that's another strong point that Mark has, my business partner. He can sell a ketchup stick made out of, or a popsicle stick made out of ketchup to a lady with white gloves. So he's always like, he's always jive. He's always got a way to make it work and make everybody happy. So it's just a good thing. And we get over a lot of hurdles quickly. So far, so good. Knocking on wood.
Gotcha. And what, tell us about the 47 that's coming along now.
Yeah. So that was a really kind of a project that we had started to develop when we started doing the 36. I was like, man, I really like a cool walk around one day that I could just, go to the Bahamas for 3 days with my wife. And it kind of morphed like 3 different times. And to be honest with you, I mean, we're very transparent guys. I was on a 44 contender one day, walk around versus the express style we were originally designing. And I was like, man, this is kind of cool. The dual row seating, there's still enough room downstairs to make people comfortable if they have to do an overnighter. I think this is what the market really is going to. And so we pushed it and changed it several times, just trying to make it better and better and better. And then finally we came to an agreement on like what features we wanted the boat to have and how we wanted it to perform. And then we actually kind of went one step ahead and had Mercury help with designing the transom, because we knew that we had heard about all the issues that people were having with the big boats in the 450s, and so we were like, man, the last thing we want is a boat, a 47-foot boat coming back for warranty work is not easy to deal with, so we didn't want to cripple our business by just trying to push out this really cool product that there's nothing for it. And finally we had gotten word that there was a product coming. That kind of delayed it a little bit, but for good reason. Mercury was like, hey, this is a product, it's coming, but you really need to design the boat around it. So they helped with the transom on that boat, the knees, and just the laminate schedule in the transom to hold quad 600s, comfortably. And so we've sold 11 of those now, and 9 of them are quad 600 configurations. And it's the first one's actually in decking right now, so it'll probably be in final assembly, I would say by April sometime. And hull 2 and 3 are right behind it. So it's
sold 11
really cool
47s already.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So.
And whole one's for you or for somebody else?
No, it's a gentleman down in Ocean Reef. Actually, hull 1 is in Ocean Reef. Hull 2 is going to Orange Beach. Hull 3 is going to Ocean Reef. Hull 5 is going to Ocean Reef. So it's I think some of the Hydrosport guys down there are looking for something different. I've seen that, like when we talk to them, they've either had a 53 Sueño, so they've had maybe a big Boston Whaler with a tower, and they just kind of they want to get into that like more serious but still outboard configuration center console, and so the 47 makes a lot of sense for them.
Wow,
We
crazy.
did some cool stuff like pitch wells in the front, and tuna tubes in the back, and just that we have a pump room in our 47, kind of similar to the 46 Valhalla, which is it's a good idea. We have a pump room in our 39 too, so having all those components in the dry area just make for owning a boat like that easier. And now the 600s, without having to pull them for the first 1,000 hours, really makes, because that's a boat you just got to leave in the water. All the guys that try to trailer these big boats, I just giggle because it's way too much of a hassle. So the 600 has definitely made that product a lot easier to own.
Have you ran the 600s?
Yeah, I did, a Lake X. They're really impressive. The 2-speed transmission's amazing. When you're going 30 miles an hour and you roll into the throttle and it downshifts like a car, it just blows your mind. But it's very smooth. It's not clunky. And and then the joystick config, the way the joystick operates, especially now. They make them where they work with the bow thruster too. The boats, I always tell everybody, it's like Star Wars. You don't really even hear nothing. The boat just starts moving sideways. Where like the old joystick systems are real clunky and noisy, and water was getting thrown everywhere. So the 600s, I think, are really going to revolutionize what we're going to be able to do as boat builders from a scale perspective. So hopefully the fish like them too. Time will tell. Yeah,
that's the big question there.
Yeah. So, but it's right now we're in full swing. I think I counted it to this morning. We have 28 boats in production at some stage on the floor. We're in 90,000 square feet. We just completed our third move, which we're told 3 moves for a factory is equivalent to a fire. So, but it was painless, or not as painful as some of the other moves. We were able to do it quickly, and I think we're on our 4th week now in the new shop, and we're finally hitting our goal. We've hit it a couple times, but we've struggled, but now we're consistently getting a boat out every week. So one transom's going over the threshold every Friday. So we're starting to see some light at the end of the tunnel.
That's
How
awesome.
many people do you have working there?
114 right now.
Oh, wow. It's incredible.
Yeah, we were fortunate. Like, one of the things that kind of happened was, they closed the local Sea Ray facility down when we started the company. So a bunch of laminators and a bunch of people with some talent. I mean, Sea Ray's not the same product that we build, but they understood the industry, and you could train them really easy to do things the way you wanted it done. We are a production boat company, but we're still there's a lot of custom features. And one thing I think we do with our employees is we make them go out on the boats and see how these boats get driven, so they understand the repercussions of a shortcut, or why we can't do it that way, because it's not just going to sit in the bay tied up to a dock, with wine getting drank off the back of it. It's going to get run pretty hard. So that happens. So that factory closing down, and then there's still Edgewater around us. There's still Everglades around us, Solist, Mystics around us. So you've got some boat building within an hour and a half of us. And if you treat your employees well and you offer benefits, and they can turn hours, even through COVID, we didn't have to do any layoffs. Even through the resin shortage, we were able to do some tooling that we didn't expect to do. So we've always been able to keep these guys busy, and I think it's made a decent name for us in the industry as far as a good company to work for. So acquiring talent, like, don't get me wrong, we get our days like everybody else. Some days you're just like, man, out of the 114, only 86 showed up today. But there's, for the most part, staffing has been pretty good.
You build a production center console, and then we have a custom 65.
Yeah, that was that story is almost as crazy as the FrontrRunner story. We were very fortunate. Fast forward now to almost year 3, the Gettys, Hunter and Tim both, they became like family, and they still are. And they were on their 3rd FrontrRunner. And Tim was really wanting, they had a 72 Huckins Sportfish, and they had the 48 Merritt, the Chunda. They were kind of running like a father and son program. Like, Tim had his own captain and mate, Hunter had his own captain and mate. And I never forget, we were in Ocean City fishing the Mid-Atlantic 500 on Hunter's boat, because we had fished the White Merlin Open, the month before on my boat. So we kind of agreed that we were going to switch boats, and we're going out, and I see Tim coming by in the Huckins, his dad. I was like, Hunter, is that dad? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, what? This is crazy. Like, you guys should just be on the same boat. And eventually, I think they got the hang of that. They decided they would have a lot more fun fishing together. So they sold the Huckins, and they were fishing the Merritt, and they were looking to build a custom sport fish. They had gone to see Richie Howell. They had gone to Jarrett Bay. One other builder, I can't remember who it was. And Tim was really just, everyone was busy, and some of the builders are great boat builders, but not great businessmen to deal with. And Tim just was like, I don't know what to do. And I said, I'll tell you what to do. Irwin's designed a lot of big boats. He's done a lot of the Garlington stuff and Mark Willis stuff. And, he had a long tenure at Rybovich for a while. And I said, just, pay him to design the boat for you. And then kind of maybe you can find a builder that'll build what you want. So they started that process with Irwin, and when they started getting closer to done, me and Mark were so kind of embedded in the project just because it was cool that it really started to look like it was going to be maybe an opportunity to do something. And I never forget, Tim had asked Erwin, who do you think should build this boat? And Erwin looked at me and Mark and said, let these two idiots build it. And we got a chuckle out of it. And I was like, man, I don't know about volunteering me for that. And then we all kind of laughed it off, but thought about it. And the next day we were talking about it. And then Jeff Crabtree, the captain, was like, I think it'd be awesome if we, built a custom sport fish in Jacksonville. And we knew we had the talent. A lot of the guys that work for us, they've been with Viking before. A couple guys we got from Bayless that had relocated here because their families. A bunch of guys, we used to have the lures factory here, many years ago. So we had some of those guys around still. So we knew we had the talent around us, and we knew that Erwin was definitely smart enough to design it. So I told Erwin, I said, here's the deal. We're going to do this, but you got to move here and help us build this boat. And he told me I was crazy. And then 4 days later, he was sending me real estate listings for houses down the street from the factory. And literally 3 months later, he moved, and we had to come up with a name and design the logo. And we built the building that the first boat was laid up in. And we built the tool ourselves, and we were off to the races. And it was like everybody knew that it was going to be cool, but everybody knew that there was a chance we're only going to build one boat. It was like, we all knew it. And Tim even knew it too. Tim's like, hey, if it goes that way, great. If it doesn't, and this becomes something, that people start to do, then this will be cool. And then I got a phone call from, I think I told you this story too, Nick, from Marlin Magazine. And the guy said, we want to do an ad about Vilano. And I said, man, nobody reads print anymore. I don't think that that's a good investment for us. And 2 days later, he calls me, he goes, how about I just do like on the drawing board for you? And I was like, well, that can't hurt. So he put us on the drawing board, and like the magazine comes out, and Tim calls me and he's like, hey, I'm on this airplane and there's a magazine, the Marlin Magazine, and we're in there on the drawing board. And I was like, all right, well, I found one guy that reads print. It's Tim. And then I swear to you, not 10 minutes later, Sammy Vaughn called for the first time, and he had called the office, and I'm reading this magazine. I see on the drawing board there's a custom sport fish boat getting built up the road from me. And several meetings with Sammy, really knowledgeable boat owner, good captain. I think he's built 13 custom boats. I mean, his last boat was the Loridai, which was I think a 64 Bayless. It's had a couple Craig Blackwell boats, and just really, really smart builder, almost to an intimidating standpoint, where it was like, man, he almost knows as much as a lot of boat builders, And so somehow, some way, he fell in love with Mark and I. And there were some things that I didn't feel comfortable doing because I didn't know at the time, And Sammy was one of those guys where it was like, man, I really want to do this, and I'm open to ideas. So let's talk about how we can make this happen. And then the next, we're building a second 65, and, having Sammy and his captain Ty part of some of the build process and some of the design has really, I think, helped us build a good product. I think that the boats are going to, ride well, perform very well. And we've got some systems in the boat that they've kind of helped us, especially Ty, come up with that I think are going to make the boat a lot of fun to use. So now Vilano is like we talk to people all the time. We're doing a 55 design right now. We've got a 72 on the drawing board. We're building another building behind where FrontrRunner is now to start to expand into that. So you look at it, we're fortunate that company has 2 mechanical engineers on full-time staff that work in the build process on the floor with the guys. They're very smart guys. We've got our old man, which you've met, Nick, Dana Greenwood. He's a composite genius. We infused that first 65 in one shot, which was a pretty big deal. We were all, pins and needles that day, but it went well. And then we were able to acquire Huckins Boatyard, which is, they built a lot of nice motor yachts back in the day. So we were able to acquire a bunch of carpenters from there. And it, like I said, just like FrontrRunner, kind of organically grew, and we were able to acquire a lot of talent. That business is doing as well as I could ask for it to do right now.
Wow. It's amazing, man. You got a lot going on.
So the hull,
What was that, Anthony?
The hull on the Vilano is like a composite hull, like there's no wood in it at all?
Well, it's a trick question. Yes and no. The first one is a composite boat. The second boat is a coal molded boat.
I think actually interesting.
Yeah, I'm a young guy. I'm for what's new and what's modern. I'm not like throw the old stuff out that works kind of guy. Like I don't have to go try all the new shit, but I'm one of the guys that I like to pay attention to what's coming out, because I think especially in the composite game, it changes really for the good. Yeah, very rapidly. Carbon fiber's done a lot for the industry, and vinyl ester resin's come a long way. And I was a composite guy, but Sammy really wanted a coal molded boat. And so at the end of the day, I told Mark, I was like, dude, we're either a custom boat builder or we're not. We either build a boat that is catered to the customer or we don't. We're not very like ego driven, so to speak. It's not like you're buying you're buying my boat and you're buying it the way I want to build it. We have a lot more fun trying to make the owner's dream come true, so to speak. So the second one is cold molded.
You got a little picture on your phone you could show up to the camera of the Vilano?
Oh God! Of course you're gonna ask me that. I do have one. Just how far back is it?
You could wait till he comes. You could just take pull it back up when he comes back.
It's funny now that I'm on the Instagram page. I'm seeing all the progress we've made over the last year. So the boat show looks good. Our booths look good. I mean, for what we had.
Yeah. So I mean, the boats all look nice there.
Yeah. That 39. If you ever get to run on that one, it's got the 450s. It rips. It's so fast. Every video Jeff sends me that boat, he's going like 72, 73 miles an hour running home.
That's crazy.
Here you go, Anthony.
Oh boy. Full back. Yeah, right. Hold on,
nice, man. That's cool. What kind of power are you having that thing?
So hull 1 is getting C32Bs, and then hull 2 is getting C32As.
I got you.
Yeah. So,
nice.
I mean, we have ring power in our backyard. They've been really good with us to work with, and they've been a part of a lot of the engineering and stuff on that build, which, I mean, I know that's kind of standard protocol anyways, but it's just nice that they're right down the street.
Yeah, for sure. You need that support.
Yeah. So yeah, it's getting, Larry Belkoff's doing both interiors. Palm Beach is going to be doing the towers. So, it's just a cool custom boat, with, they're both 65s, but interior wise, they're completely different. The bridges are completely different on them. But the hull and the house are the same, except for one's cold molded. Yeah.
Nice, man. I'm excited to watch that process.
It's certainly, it's certainly surreal, being
how's
a guy good.
How's the, what are the different challenges? You got your production side and your custom side. Tell us the differences or the differences from either dealing with the clients or dealing with the just dealing with the whole overall process.
I think the clients on the custom sport fish side, most of them are just most of the guys they've done this before. They've built custom boats before, so you don't even have to. I don't know. I don't want to say because I don't want to sound bad, but you don't have to. It's okay to deliver bad news to those guys. They're more like, let me know what's going on so I can be part of the solution with you. You know what I mean? And you can say, hey, we wanted to shoot today, but the resin shortage is crunching us right now. We need 12 drums. We got 8, you know what I mean? And we were supposed to get all 12, and you can just kind of have that dialogue, and they're very, very, all right, what's our options? And they make decisions quick, and it goes, they're more, I guess to say it, they're more part of the company than they are the build. Does that make sense? They care as much about it as possible. Production boat guys they're thinking about like, dude, it's spring break's coming and I got to do this trip and I got to do this trip and that, and they don't give a shit that Mercury's behind on engines. They don't care that the industry ran out of resin. You know what I mean? They know that you said in October they were getting their boat. It's October, and so, and they all have the same thing. They're like, listen, I can't go without a boat. So you got to sell my boat right as my new one's getting done. And it's like, yeah, you and 700 other people, you know what I mean? Yeah. And we've been fortunate for the most part. Most of the FrontrRunner clientele base has been very understanding, very patient, very easy people to deal with, and a lot of fun. And there's just some customers that they just know I'm just getting my boat in March and it's March, Yeah. So that I would say that's the clientele base is a little different. They all work hard for their money. They all want to make sure that they get what they want. But I would say the FrontrRunner customer is, the front runner is a means to like something he has going on, a goal. Like I want to go to the Bahamas with my family in May. So that's why we're doing this, where like, it's almost like some of the big boat guys almost enjoy the build process as much as they enjoy using the boats, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely does. I know a lot of people, seems like, there's a certain segment of the custom boat world that is just basically you just hear them building another boat as soon as the one stops.
Yeah, it's I mean, I'm a car guy too, so I like boats and I like cars. I like I've had everything but a sailboat. So for me, it's like I always have a saying. It's like the chase is almost as fun as actually using the car or using the boat. You know what I mean? Finding it and making sure it fits its niche. And that's how some of those guys really. They also like the openness where they can walk in the shop and they don't have to feel like that they're going to be insulted. They can, ask a dumb question or ask, why can't we do this? And it's not, there's no, there's an explanation as why you can or why we can. So I think they like that. When you're in a production boat, for the most part, like we can call it custom, but it's custom interior, custom electronics, custom colors. But if they don't want that hatch there, guess what? That's where it goes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In a custom boat world, Mark has a saying. He's like, it came out of a can over there, so we can make it do whatever you want. You know, it's just time and money. If you've got the money, sir, we got the time.
Yeah. That's pretty cool, man.
Yeah.
So Phil, how do you build a lot of boats? Are you always boat building, or do you actually get to go out there and use them? And how do you prefer to fish, and how do you prefer to use the boats that you build? And how's that transfer? I mean,
fishing's the biggest part. You know, I always try to tell everybody we build boats so we can fish. That's the goal. And I've my 39's in Costa Rica right now. I like a blue water fishing boat with a tower and teaser reels, but the business is definitely growing. It needs a commander. It needs someone there. So my time is now not as much fishing as I'd like to do. And it's tough for me because my boys are getting older, my son and my nephews, and they fished with me a lot, and they're starting to get to where they understand the circle hook game. But the business is just getting to a point where it's like, man, I can't really, I guess, do that kind of R&D so much as I used to. So we started looking at, you know, who can we put in our product that's going to help us. The industry is full of a lot of guys that are like, hey, give me a free boat and I'll go win you a tournament, which is, I mean, you can pick those guys out of line. But we actively went after like partnerships, somebody that would help us make the brand better. One was Meat Mayhem, because the 36 and the 33 clientele base really cater to that mackerel fisherman or that high-speed wahoo guy, and they've been a great partner for us. But then when it came to the Billfish game, there was really only one guy that I could think of that would be a good ambassador for us, but also help make the product better. And I guess I was a little sneaky in my attempt with texting Nick and just saying, hey, I really want to talk to you about a boat idea I have. And that started off as a conversation about the Vilano. And I just kind of kept baiting him a little bit. And then finally he said the magic words, which was, when can we get a FrontrRunner down here for me to fish in? And then I was like, all right, no more free spool, get in the drag, got him on. And nice. And I was like, man, come on, let's have a talk. And I'm proud to say, I think now that Nick's going to be in one of our boats next season. And it's a new boat. It's a 39, but Nick has come up to the factory and spent a good amount of time with us, but we're changing the product a little bit. We've had a niche. The 39 does some things that, like, say, a 39 yellowfin and a 39 CV can't do. And it really helped get our brand out there. But we're also, hey, we want to build a hardcore fishing boat. Scratch the creature comforts. Let's talk about live bait. Let's talk about live wells. Let's talk about what the boat needs to strictly be a competitive fishing boat. And I don't know anyone, at least in my circle, that's probably better to get to help us with that than Nick. And luckily, he was like, yeah, I'll be your Doug, and and jumped in. And so we're excited about that opportunity and what that's going to bring for our brand.
Yeah, man, I'm super excited, and thank you for the opportunity, and it's going to be awesome. I can't wait to get that thing going.
I was telling the boys, I was like, we'll give Mr. Nick a clinic on building boats, but he's definitely going to give us a clinic on catching fish. So they're excited about it too.
So is that going to be like is that going to be labeled like the FrontrRunner boat in all the tournaments?
I mean,
like the factory boat, or?
Yeah, it's going to be the factory boat. We're going to build the boat for Nick, obviously, and what him and his guys have going on. It's going to be a boat we try to use for demos down in South Florida, as well as a couple boat shows. But most of all, it's going to be so Nick can put our boat in the winter circle.
Nice.
We have to get this year. We're going to get Anthony down. We got Anthony down.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
I would love to see all that stuff. Get yelled at by Nick. That's probably what I'm going to end up being. It'll be kites crashing and everything, but it'd be fun, man.
Yeah, we're learning the kite fish game a little bit. We were down in the Keys this past week, and we were trying to kite fish out of Mark's 33, and we sucked the first day. We were good the second day, but the first day, I almost was going to call Nick and be like, all right, just do me a FaceTime tutorial. How the fuck do you get this thing in the air? But we finally got it in the air, so we rallied.
Nice. Are you I assume, you're a pretty ambitious or, natural born bred entrepreneur. Are you a pretty competitive guy too? Like your new captain?
Yeah, I mean, like so my boating experience was, before Mark and I were boat partners, I fished my own boat, and I was primarily a Northeast Florida, wahoo fisherman, and I was fairly good at it. And then when Mark and I became boat partners, we had a unique relationship in that I owned my own business at the time, and he worked at the car business, so he would work late. So my kind of gig was like and this went on for like 7 years, but I would get the boat ready, get it fuel, get it ice, Mark would rig baits. And then in the morning, Mark needs about 45 minutes of sleep before his day gets going. So Mark would always drive the boat, and I would, sleep on the ride out. And then I would always be in the cockpit. And that went on for a long time. And then in 2017, I hired Jeff Crabtree as my captain, who's the captain of the Chunda now, and I had him for 2 years. And so I never really, I was never up in the bridge. I never really ran any of my own boats other than, a family day or a trip to the Bahamas with the kids.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was hard. I told Mark, I said, hey, we built the first 39 for ourselves. We shared it much like every other boat we shared. And the last 39 I built, I said, I really want to get back upstairs and kind of try and get some of my craft back. I'm nowhere near the caliber of Mark's an outstanding fisherman. I mean, he's a better fisherman than he's a boat builder, and he's a good boat builder. But and so I got, when I built my boat, we started fishing a lot with me in the bridge, and a steep learning curve, and definitely like trying to tell myself, it's hard because they're my boys too down there. So I'm used to smacking them upside the head and screaming at them to try and keep your composure. When I went to Costa Rica, the first trip we did was like long. It was like we were there for 3 weeks, and I'd flown my whole family in, my sisters, brother-in-laws, all my nieces and nephews, my best friends. I mean, anyone that was important to me was there. There was 40 of us burning down Los Sueños for almost 3 weeks. And I was just taking a different group fishing every day. And I was having good days. Like by my friends' standards, we were, 5 or 6 sailfish, 2 blue marlin, all the meat fish you could stick a stick at. But I was getting sacked up by the rest of the boys. Boy, was I having a hard time with it. And finally, Mark's like, listen, man, this is fun. But compared to these guys, we suck. Like we got a long way to go. We're fishing with our kids down there. You got your best friend here who's never been fishing with you. And it took me and Jeff was a big help too. Krabs is like, man, you really beat yourself up. And I'm like, well, dude, when I'm like, I got like 5 or 6 good bites and I call you and tell you I got them, and then you come over and I finish today like, 9 for 12 and you're 24 for 27. It's really hard to swallow. So it took me a while to just realize that, those guys got a lot of time, on me, and I've got a long way to go when it comes to being, better at fishing.
It's just a pretty great self-awareness, man, like to because you seem like a kind of guy that normally does pretty well at whatever he does. To take a step back and do that is pretty self-aware, and understand that you don't just go out there and because you spend all the money and everything to think that you're gonna go and get them. I'm learning that right here in Casa de Campo. I'm like, oh, I'm here, I got the sonar, just gonna go drive around some fads and we're gonna whack them just like the salty fare. No, that's not the case.
It's really well. And so last season I had a boat in Costa Rica and Jeff ran it for me. We ended up kind of like sharing the expenses to get the boat there with the Getty family, and Jeff and Clay stayed the whole time. And it was, dude, I used to make jokes. So I used to call it like Babe Ruth fishing. We would go over here and catch 8 or 9 sails. And then when I was bored with that, I'd go, Jeff, let's go get some tuna fish. And we go catch tuna fish. And Jeff just made it look like all he did was hold the steering wheel. You know what I mean? And it was just like, well, we're rigging the baits the way we rig them at home. We're pulling the baits. Man, I couldn't have been more wrong. Like it was, and it's easy to sit there and say you're humble, but it's pretty hard not to be when it's right in your face. You know what I mean? When you're just like, I'm getting sacked up every day. Like, this is a struggle.
Anthony, you're gonna catch 10 here pretty soon. Any minute you're gonna.
Oh, dude. I mean, I'm aware like that I'm the new guy around here, and that's fine. But I want to do well. Dude, if I saw 10 in a day, I'd be super happy. But yeah, but Los Sueños is not really the best place to kind of go. Just kind of dip your feet in the Costa Rica scene, dude. You're gonna. Like most people, like I got friends over there who were like, we're not fishing a tournament for the first 3 years we go, because we just, there's only, as far as I'm concerned, there's the South Florida kite fishing scene and that scene over there, pretty much the most competitive fishing when it comes to bill fishing, as far as I'm from what I've seen.
I wouldn't dare to get in.
Well, and where you are, Anthony, and where you are, I mean, as far as white marlin fishing goes, I mean, you guys are
but the tournaments are not like the way the tournaments are set up. There's a tournament within a tournament all the time. You just look around who actually caught the most, but it's not it's not set up like that. Like everybody's like, well, you were second place in the White Marlin Open top boat, but you didn't win $1 million, so you're pretty much lame, just like the rest of us. Which is fine, but
we actually got to experience I fished the White Marlin Open on a center console twice and on a big boat twice. And when I started, I never forget the first time I signed us up for the White Marlin Open, and we took our 39 CV up there, and I was just like, oh, we're gonna go up there and we're gonna kill it. These guys get like 25 release days, and it's just and dude, we got our ass. Not only did we get our butt kicked on the boat because it was 350 or 400 boats leaving the inlet at one time. I learned real quick, just because you're fast doesn't mean you can sleep in, because once all those boats start leaving, it gets really nasty out there. But we just got we just watched you guys crush us, and we're just like, man, we're just really are just dumb redneck, like Northeast Florida. We got a long way to go.
I mean,
You know?
it's you got to go into it, and I find it really, it's such an event. So I understand why like a somebody who has a boat that they want to showcase would want to go there, but it, like anywhere else, like you can't just like show up and think you're gonna, you could show. What the great thing about the White Marlin Open is, you could show up and you could win the thing, like just win it. You
one
could win
fish,
it, take all the money home. Yeah, but to feel like you're gonna go out there and have a chance, it took me. I'm not nearly as good as a lot of people, so it took me our program 8 years to feel like we had a chance.
Yeah.
When that's the same with any going up to. And like going up to that event, the odds are stacked against you in so many ways. And being out of town and not used to that sort of fishing is completely. The good thing is you're used to at a Jacksonville. You're at least used to getting up early in the morning and going a long ways.
Yeah, running far. They do such a good job at those events. It really turned into, the first year was all about me going up there and fishing, and then the second year it was like mandatory part of the kids, last hurrah before they went back to school. So that's the best for me, the best tournament experience for camaraderie. It's fun just coming back to the dock, and the kids
are incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The town, the beach walk.
Yeah. The event, like it is an event, like the town doesn't really showcase it as much as they could, but, now they are kind of doing it this year because they're doing a big festival right there on the inlet where the boats come in. So that'll be cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, the atmosphere in that town in August is hard to beat if you're a fisherman, man. It's a special time, and basically the whole reason why I personally do any fishing anywhere else is to try and do good in August.
Yeah.
And it's a special place, and they've done a good job.
Yeah.
It's cool when everybody in the industry shows up, except for Nick Carullo.
Nick, you haven't been up there yet?
I've been up there once, but I need to get up there.
It's going to be a real event when Nick Carullo shows up.
Oh, great. Get smoked by the whole fleet.
It's okay, though. I speaking from experience, it's still a fun time. I mean, the second time and the third time around, we were a little bit more gun shy on the Calcutta list. We had a lot less confidence in the first year. And so I think the first year we just donated $30,000 to the event, where the second year we got a little smart.
Is there a sailfish division?
No.
No.
You might catch, I've caught like I've caught a dozen sailfish up there my entire life.
But catching a white's almost
me,
like
I'll probably
go
go catch a few of them.
To me, it's almost similar though. Or maybe we're doing it wrong, but it's very similar to dead bait sailfish. And to me,
it was all derived from the same group of people.
Yeah, we pull dredges, pull teasers, and hope for the bite and be ready.
And they're really, they're not that different than anything other, than anything else as far as the tackle you use or anything like that. When it comes to dead bait trolling. It's just a lot of it has to do with being in the right spot in the ocean, which is not the easiest thing to do when you got 100 miles in any direction.
Yeah, and there's a lot of boats covering that ground too. I don't. Fishing a crowd every time we fish there.
Yeah, what I always say now is like, I typically leave Ocean City to go fishing and kind of have an A, B, and a C area that I want to fish. Well, A, B, and C area have like 60 boats in every area, so I got to kind of, if you don't want to battle it out with the crowd, which I do not, I try to go, find something that is a little bit of a gamble,
Yeah.
So it's an interesting place to fish, and like you said, the event is worth going just for the event.
Yeah.
That it's just the scale of it for a fishing event is really, really, really awesome, and everybody a lot of Ocean City people that fish other tournaments, will say something like, "Oh man, there's only 50 boats in that tournament." Well, most places in the world, 50 boats for a tournament's a lot of boats.
A lot, yeah.
But here up there, it seems, since it's such a condensed time of the year, everybody's like get in there and fish, and then the season begins in 4. It starts and ends in 4 months, so makes it special. That you can't just go out there in January and catch a white marlin.
Yeah, and you guys have other tournaments kind of in that 4 months. I mean, I fished the Mid-Atlantic one year, and it was, obviously it wasn't the turnout the White Marlin Open is, but it was still a fun event. There was still a shit ton of boats in it. You know what I mean? And I remember going, Jesus, this is like for 4 months. These guys just, I mean, basically from, Moorhead North, there's just a bunch of good events, in that here in Florida, for especially Northeast Florida, when June hits, it's over. You know what I mean? You're going to the sandbar, or you're going mackerel fishing, which is, I'd rather sweep the garage floor, but that's just me. So being able to go up there and start fishing up there, basically just took our season. It got like the one year we did it really hard, where it was like last year we were Costa Rica, basically, the winter into the spring, and then the fun spring fishing here we got to do. And then the summertime we were up that way. So we really only had like September and October, of no fishing. And it was like, I finally told Mark, I'm like, all right, we starting to figure this out. We could fish 12 months a year, where before it was like, December to May was our season, and that was it,
That's awesome.
Yeah. Pretty amazing, man. That's go ahead, Nick.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say it's amazing that you've been able to, get your boats. You get to know people in Los Sueños. You'll just walk down the dock, and it's all the same people. Ocean City South.
Yeah. The Bahamas too.
I throw a rock and see 8 people from Ocean City in Costa Rica.
Yeah, that's one thing that's really, I think, back to the discussion we had earlier about the difference between kind of the production boat customer versus the custom guys, that the camaraderie in that industry is really, really good. Taking it from like when I started building FrontrRunners, and we actually started to, I guess, make a little bit of a name for ourselves. I hear about these boat builders with these 4-year backlogs, and I hear about some of the stuff they're saying, and I just kind of look around going like, what the fuck are they worried about me for if they got a 4-year backlog? And it was very like, childish almost. If that even makes sense, you know what I mean? It's like, dude, you got a 4-year backlog, so we clearly can't build boats for everybody that needs a boat. So another good boat builder coming along can't be that big of a deal. Whereas when I started building the Vilano stuff, the very first time I talked to Paul Spencer, was just as nice as you could ever imagine. And then when I got on the ship to go to Costa Rica, I was rafted off to John Bayless, and which I was excited. I didn't know that was going to happen, and I was excited about it. And part of me was like, well, they all look like nice guys on camera, but how are they really? And we were fortunate. We had to sit there for like 2 hours and wait. So I got to talk to the guy for 2 hours, and he was just one of the most open guys. Sammy Vaughn was one of his other customers, so we got to crack up a little bit about how nice of a guy and how quirky Sammy can be sometimes. And that side of the industry, the big boat guys, I say, so to speak, a lot more camaraderie, a lot more family. You can call those guys if you have a problem, and they'll actually help you. You know what I mean? As opposed to saying something not so nice.
Yeah, John Duffy and John Floyd say almost the same thing. I find it so interesting that's the case.
Yeah,
they're all friends till you get out in the water, and then they just.
Well, that's okay.
Especially John Bayless.
I completely understand that. I understand that there's a line in the sand somewhere. I just think it needs to go a little further down the road first before, And so I think that's one of the funnest things about that part of that business is, as a young man. I'm 38. I'm looking at these guys that are in their 40s and in their 50s now, and they're, not mentors because you don't know them that well, but they're, you look up to them. You know what I mean? And let me tell you something, man. When you meet someone that you expect to be a nice guy or a cool guy because you fell in love with their story, and you find out he's a jerk, you're just like, dude, it's like someone took the wind out from you. And with that side of the business, it was the polar opposite, which was a relief, and it made me even more passionate about that business.
Yeah. That's really cool.
It's pretty cool.
Actually, John Floyd's first podcast with you guys was the first podcast I ever heard, which I think it was like episode 6 or 7. And Hunter had called me, and he's like, hey, have you heard the new Billfish podcast? And I was like, I don't even know what that is. And he's like, yeah, it's the guys from Billfish Gear, and they're doing this podcast. Anyways, they had John Floyd on there, and John Floyd was talking about how good of an opportunity it is for a new young company to be coming into the business right now, just given the economics of the market, the boat market. And to sit there and listen to a guy like him, first of all, it's really cool that I think those guys take time to be on the podcast and to talk about the builds, and the ups and downs of the industry. But it was really cool for someone to say, which is kind of how I've always been. It's just like, dude, there's room for everyone. If you're passionate about it, you love it, and you want to do it, don't tell anyone. One, don't tell anyone they can't do it. Two, that's the worst thing you could do if you're trying to shut, because you tell me I can't do something, I'm going to spend the rest of my day trying to figure out how to make you look stupid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's not beneficial from either part, but it was almost a sense of, because we were just kind of getting going when that podcast came out, and it was like, oh cool, maybe this business will be a little bit different than the other one from that aspect, and it's definitely been that way, so I was happy to see that.
I feel like it's a lot of let's everybody's like super nice, and then they're like, it's a lot of let's see what you got, because everybody knows it's so difficult to do well in it that there's no sense in being a dickhead about it. Just yeah, man, give it a shot and see what you got, and if you're still here in a couple of years, then that's awesome.
Yeah, well, that's what I never forget. One time there was I won't mention his name, but there was a boat builder from the production side it was just constant like banter back and forth, and it was just like, but it was always like hearsay, like somebody would say this guy said, and then finally one day me and the guy ended up duking it out on the phone, and I'm just like, dude, this is the hardest, I'll say this, it's fun, but it's the hardest business I've ever been in, because there's always a battle, you know what I mean? And then when you think you got it right, there's something else that you didn't see coming, and I'm just looking at this guy going, isn't this fucking hard enough? Yeah. Like, isn't it hard enough just to be successful, that we don't need to really make it harder on shouldn't we sympathize with each other instead of like trying to be another thorn in someone's side? And luckily he was like, yeah, you're right. And I'm like, dude, this is the hardest place I've ever been in, and I've got a lot of hurdles to overcome and a lot of people to try and make happy, and the last thing I want to do is worry about what the fuck you're saying, and actually, me and the guy have been pretty cordial ever since, but it got to the point where it was like, dude, you don't have to say anything. There's a 50-50 chance I'm not going to make it anyways, so just wait and see what happens, because the failure rate in this business is high, that's for sure.
Yeah, and they love to watch people fail.
I don't get that. I don't that part. I don't. There was, I tell everybody all the time, for every 3 FrontrRunner fans where they were like, this is awesome, we're proud of you, there was 20 guys that were just, there's no way those two can do it. And who do they had this like misconception, and maybe I'm wrong, but the way it was perceived to me was like boat builders were like born out of their mother's wound, and they just, with a chisel in one hand and a saw in the other, and they just, they were bred and born to build boats, and only they could build boats. And, how dare you think that you can try and go do it? And it's just like, when you start to learn about these guys, you're like, that guy was a carpenter at one time, and that guy, owned a telephone company at one time, and, they just were passionate and loved it and dove into it. And, if they can teach the monkeys to fly a spaceship to the moon, I'm sure I can figure out how to build a boat, given the right resources.
Absolutely.
Oh, man, sounds like you're doing a good job, dude.
I'm trying, man. A lot of faith, a lot of God work, and a lot of good people involved. That's another thing we say. If it was just me and Mark, we'd probably still be looking at hole number 1, trying to figure out how to finish putting it together. But fortunately, we got a lot of good people.
Cool, man.
And Anthony, you want to ask him our question we always ask everybody?
Well, we got to do, it's different with the boat builders, but yeah.
I mean, it doesn't have to be a fishing day.
Yeah, but like, yeah, is there a fishing day or a boat or an experience that kind of keeps you going, that's like, man, this is why I do it? Or do you just kind of?
I mean, there's obviously, there's experiences with customers where like you get to see their dream come to fruition, and like how they play it out, and they're on their boat and they're sending you pictures from this, trip they never thought they could ever take. That's cool. That really drives you. For me, last year was like last year was a surreal moment for me, because my wife gets seasick in a bathtub, and she's also my best friend. I've been with her since I was 15 years old. She's never been fishing with me. When we went to Costa Rica, the whole point of Costa Rica was for 2 reasons. 1, so she can try and go fishing with me, so not get seasick. And 2, it would give the boys shots at circle hook fishing. You know what I mean? Because it's one thing to teach them down here, and they only get 4 or 5 shots a day, where over there, sometimes you can get 30. So and my son and my 2 nephews and my daughters, they're all in school, but spring break and summer, they work at the factory every day. And my twin sister works there. My oldest sister works there. My stepmom works there. My brother-in-law's work there. So it was last season, my wife caught her first billfish, and Jeff was the captain. And it hit me where it was like, all right, I'm building boats, which is something I've always dreamt about doing. And I'm fishing with my family every day, and my best friend, because Mark's my best friend. It hit me then where it was like, all right, if I don't screw this up and I just go to work every day and give it my all, I can do this for the rest of my life until, God takes me off this green earth. And I think, so for me, I think that was a surreal moment.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's great. Well, awesome, man.
Cool.
Well,
so
thanks.
I appreciate it. What's next for you, Anthony, after the DR?
Oh, we'll be on our way home, like as fast as we possibly can, unless fuel's $15 a gallon. Then I'll be 10 knotting it straight from here to Ocean City, because I think we have enough fuel. If I 10 knotted it, I could make it.
How bad is it there right now?
What's the fuel there?
It's not bad at all. It's like 430 or something like that.
You can't get that at the
450 or
pump.
something. Yeah. So no, because they get all they're pretty regulated nationally, and they get all the fuel from Venezuela. So no, I think it was I don't know what the conversion is for the liters and the Dominican pesos, but yeah, it's somebody told me it was like 425 last week. I think it went up to 450 this week, but going 20 miles, it's not terrible. So
no, I mean
but yeah.
We Ocean Reef on Sunday we had to move a boat and we had to put fuel in it. It was $6.90 a gallon for gas.
Yeah, we were I got fuel off the truck. Shout out to Steve Ellis at Dockside Petroleum in Palm Beach. He accommodated us, and amongst the craziness as it was going up, and going up by like the hour, and he got us in there, and it was $4.97, which is and then we paid $5.50 in Long Island and $6 in Turks. But when we got away from the States, we were kind of surprised that it didn't go up at the same rate that the States did, which was good, because it was crazy. It would have been $10 a gallon in Turks, but hightailing it home to Ocean City, probably get my way to the Abacos and run right to Wrightsville Beach, and then head to Ocean City the next day. So
nice.
Thankfully the weather will be behind us, because that shit was fucking nonsense.
Welcome to
Getting down
DR,
there, bro. I mean, from Long Island, we made it from Palm Beach to Long Island in a day in like 12 hours, and then from Long Island to Turks sucked. From Turks to here sucked.
Yes, I hear it's rough there. Like when I talk to guys.
Yeah, I knew it was going to be rough, but just getting down, like we just didn't have a window, and the window that we had sucked, so it was in our face. So, but fishing, it's been rough, but we have a pretty stable boat, and you only have to go 20 miles, and honestly, the last 8 is kind of shitty. The rest of it, the way Costa the Campo is set up, is like it's kind of flat the first couple miles, so you can kind of take it easy. Yeah, home to Ocean City as fast as we can, because the tunas will be biting then. So
well, cool guys. Anything else
man.
I can answer for?
No. I'll do a little close too before we.
And shout out to Richie Barrett, a guy that we got to get onto a pod. I don't know if I could have got down here without him. Him and the Doña Lucy guys have been super nice to me. And JT on the Salty Fair. Have been super nice to me on this trip, and Richie hooked us up with Belinda and Turks, who showed us a great time, and can't thank that guy enough. So
nice, good people.
Yeah, so cool.
All right. Well, thanks, Phill Mahn, FrontrRunner, Vilano Boatworks. Thanks for joining us, and
thanks for having me, guys.
We're looking forward to seeing all the future stuff coming along.